on this episode of The Guide's Guide.
Look at this, boy.
He's a Kaza style, man.
Oh my God, that's so good. Well, we're in for a special treat today. Tyler and I are in Seattle Harbour. We're going out with 𝗂𝗂𝗃𝗃. We're gonna try something completely different. We're gonna go squid fishing, find the tips and techniques to squid fishing in Seattle Harbour.
Absolutely. It's really cool to be down here. Captain 𝗂𝗂𝗃𝗃's got the squidding dialed, and it's really cool to bring you guys something a little different. I know we've done a lot of salmon episodes in the past, but coming down to a new area and hitting the squid, it's going to be an absolutely epic day out on the water. Come join us.
Hey, Paul. How you doing, buddy?
Paul.
We did. Good to see you, my man. Good to see you. Looking forward to this.
How are you? Good to see you, man. Awesome.
Welcome to Seattle.
My name is Captain 𝗂𝗂𝗃𝗃. I'm the owner-operator of Fish PNW Charters right here in Seattle, Washington. And so we had a pretty big storm yesterday, so I'm really glad that everything's kind of laid down here. We're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to go out in the morning versus usually in the afternoon, evening. So this will kind of be a beta test for the squid fishery, and hopefully we can find some willing players out there. I like to see anywhere from a 49 to a 51 degree water temperature. That seems to be kind of the magic numbers where we start seeing activity.
And what kind of structure do squid like? Are they looking for rocks?
They're looking
sand,
for a mixture
shale?
of. They're looking for a mixture of substrate, and so what they're here to spawn. So they've come into shallower waters to drop their eggs, and so it looks like a rosette. I don't know if you've ever caught like a little pod, an oval-colored, opaque white pod, but those are squid eggs. And so this time of year, they're depositing their eggs so that the paralarvae, when they hatch, have the best chance to find food quickly. And where that food is going to be is near pilings, near docks, near sources of light where a lot of the microorganisms and the zooplankton survive and thrive. And so these things are like the size of a little rice grain when they hatch, and they've got to quickly find food in order to survive. They've got a very short lifespan, anywhere from 9 to 11 months, and they're very, very sustainable, fast-growing, and very voracious hunters. And so there's a lot. They're pretty incredible animals. You see this little kind of something that's forming over here? I'm gonna see if we can. I'm gonna mark this real quick, and I'm gonna see if we can drop down on that and see if we can't get onto that. So,
Do you want me to drop down
yeah,
as well?
why don't we drop down? So we're just gonna drop down a jig, and I'll kind of show you the step, but I just want to see if there's something. And it's not a huge jigging motion. It's just a little bit of a bump.
So here's our setup, guys. Lead weight at the bottom, and we've got three of the specially designed squid jigs. They're about 2.5 inches, 3 inches long. We go right down to the bottom. Paul's going to show us the jigging motion. But we're cruising around the harbor looking for squid on the screen and then stopping and jigging for them.
You see here all of Paul's lines
Oh,
here.
yeah.
He's really hunting for these squid.
Yeah.
And looking for the spots.
Yeah, so there was a little blip right there, a little blip right there. There's some squid right there, but it's just a small school, so we're going to see if we can find a little bigger one. On those new West Coast rods, I'm using a 2-ounce cannonball at the end of that because the regulation allows up to 4 jigs per rod. And so 4 jigs is a bit much for a first-timer or beginner to go because it's just potential for tangle. But I fish 4 jig just because it's a little bit more efficient. Sometimes you get in 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, 5, 6, up to 7 squid per jig set when the bite is on. Yeah, look at this, 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 look at this. Okay, so we're seeing something over here. I'm gonna mark that on the sounder here, and I see a little something, but I'm gonna try to stay on that and see if we can't. Yeah, that's a classic thing.
It's really interesting. So Paul's basically cruising around the harbor here in Seattle, hunting for these squid, looking for them on the screen. When we find them, we stop and drop for them.
So what the key to this is not to bounce the jig at the bottom. It's there just to get probe for depth. And once we find squid, we're going to want to anchor down and stay on that school.
Oh,
and
so
so
you'll actually anchor?
we'll anchor down. And so I want that cannonball about 6 to 8 inches above the bottom. Okay. And that's just a depth gauge. And then I'll show you a little trick later on how to set that, and so that you have a foolproof way of getting down each and every time without tangling up.
Awesome,
up.
sweet.
So,
I love that.
yeah,
That's cool.
Yeah. Oh, I got a squid on
There,
there
we got a
too.
squid too.
Woohoo! Put that off here for a second. Get untangled. There we go, guys.
Hey, that's awesome. This episode is brought to you by Gone Fishing, serving Vancouver Island and beyond for over 30 years. West Coast fishing tackle, the quality anglers deserve. Parksville Boathouse, your full-service boat dealer and chandlery.
This is our Pacific market squid. It's scientifically known as 𝗦𝗂𝗥𝗘. Okay, so in Canada, our friends call them opals, kind of short for that. You'll notice that they're just amazing creatures. So they've got a series of 8 tentacles and 2 reacher arms, and so they have suction cups on the end of each tentacle. And at the reacher arm, it's almost like a couple of arms that with tractor beam tentacles on them. So they grab their prey, they'll bring it in, suck it into their mouth. Wrap their 8 tentacles around that, and they'll be eating their prey often while it's still alive. And so right in the center of those tentacles is a hard beak-like mouth, okay? Super large eyes with cones and rods. They're really engineered for low light feeding and hunting. And you'll see these dots, thousands of them. These are called chromatophores. And so they'll actually lighten up and darken up based on their mood, okay? So they'll camouflage themselves to avoid predators such as lingcod, pinnipeds, salmon. I mean, this is a preferred food source for all of everything that's in our Puget Sound waters here. So very important part of that. Check out these chromatophores here. You see them really tiny. They're lightening and darkening and changing, right? And so all these thousands of pockets of essentially like ink pockets, right? Look at that. It's changing based on its mood, right?
Very
so
cool.
there's dark ones they say that they're the males that are very aggressive and they're really ready to spawn. And then these lighter ones, they say that they're females.
What's the best way to store these on the boat, and how do you dispatch them?
Yeah, so we don't dispatch them like we do the red squid up north, and so we use what's something simple. The regulation requires every squid jigger to carry some sort of a container to measure a 10-pound limit, and so we like to use these little strainers, and we just drop them in these strainers, and we'll hang these over the gunnel of the boat, and so as you're jigging, bringing in the squid, turn them upside down, pop them right into the basket. Okay. What that basket does is it lets the salt water and the ink drain from the squid, so you have a more net weight of your 10-pound limit. And so then you end up with all the ink, and you can see the staining in the bucket here.
Of course.
You can pour that out, and then you have your 10-pound limit.
And so what's the reason why you don't dispatch them?
You don't really need to. I prefer not to rinse them off in fresh water, too. Just leave them in the salt ink. They freeze really well with that. But I recommend if you do that, freeze it into meal-sized portions. Don't freeze it into a big block, and then you've got to thaw it to try to get a meal out of it,
Fair
right?
enough.
So a dozen or so is usually plenty enough for a meal.
Yeah.
Right.
What's going on, Jay?
I think I might have something here. I'm not a squid fisherman, so I don't know, but feels like we have something.
You got one on. Okay, so lift out of the water. Don't bring it in. Don't bring it in. Don't bring it in. So what I tell everyone to do is when you bring it in, leave it out there, but don't dip it back in the water, because it's like taking a big gulp of air, and then what's going to do is the last thing you know is going to ink you in the face. So let it squirt out there once, twice, 3 times, and then bring it in. So then what we have is our buckets, right? And so then it's really super simple. You can just bring it over, grab the jig, and jig only, right? Center it over your bucket and turn it upside down. Give it a little shake, and then drop it right into the bucket, right? Which we've done. Let that ink in the water fall. Then you've got your memory position set. You can open up and drop and chop and fish again. So it looks like those turds, those squid turds that we have in the catalog. Just amazing, that brown mottled chromatophore.
This episode, we've got some special guests, guys. We've got Jason Mock, who's the product designer for West Coast Fishing Tackle. The guy behind the camera today is actually Jeff Leung. He's the president of West Coast Fishing Tackle, and you just brought one in, man. They're pretty neat.
Yeah, it was really, really cool. It's definitely a different feeling, just like Paul said. So, it's very interesting. It's very cool.
Obviously, the most important part of this process is going to be the jigs. And so there's lots of jig makers out there. I've really found a great partner. His name is Kevin Strike. He is a one-of-a-kind jig maker, handmade jig maker. He owns a company called 𝗬𝗙 Squid Jigs, located up in Marysville, Washington. And so all these jigs have something in common. The fact that they have what's called a series of umbrella hooks. These are stainless steel barbless hooks. You can see they're shaped like an umbrella. If you were to turn it upside down, it looks like a mini umbrella. So super sharp. And you got to make sure you take care when you're handling these jigs. But they all have a lead center core. These have glow and UV elements that he has incorporated into this. And so he has a fluid bed, a powder coating fluid bed, where he hand dips each one of these things for color. He puts UV elements, he puts a mylar skirt on there, and then he epoxy coats everything. So,
Very cool.
and then everything is all handmade, even including the wraps from the top to the bottom. You'll see there's eyelets on the top as well as the bottom, so you can daisy chain a series of squid jigs onto that. So the way we like to rig it is generally we go lighter, medium, and then a little bit heavier, and then down to that cannonball.
Is there a maximum number of jigs you're allowed to use?
You're allowed, the regulation allows up to 4 jigs per rod. But generally that's a bit too much for the first timer or the beginners. We'd like to generally recommend 2 on the boat. You'll see some of the dock squitters are using just 1, and that's perfectly fine to do that with. You're losing a lot more jigs on the piers than we are out here. But these are just fantastic jigs. They've just held up season after season for us.
And the weight on the bottom, we were fishing about 100 feet there.
About 100 feet. I added about a 4-ounce cannonball. So you'll want to base that based on how deep you're running, because when we're into a hot bite, we want to bring up the squid as quickly as possible, put them into the bucket, and get back down as quickly as possible so that we can capitalize on the bite.
And what about the distance between the jigs?
That's a great question. 12 to 15 inches, and I like to use a 50-pound mono in between each jig. And the reason is it's not for the tensile breaking strength, because these squid are not going to break off. It's really to keep everything rigid and everything vertical, everything kind of moving up and down the line. Okay, right. So, and then it prevents it from fouling, because the last thing you want is the bottom jig fouling to the top or the main line, and it keeps everything nice and straight.
So you're running basically mono in between your jigs, and then from your very top jig, you're running braid.
Oh, 15-pound braid. That's nice because the braid doesn't stretch and it has a real nice touch and feel, and that really mates well with those West Coast rods because they're super sensitive, super nice. When you're in a bite and you can see the rod, I mean, a lot of times that tip, you can just see it just moving like this, because that squid is grabbed onto that umbrella hook and it's trying to swim away, and that rod tip will just go like this.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's quite different for a fisherman who chase finfish, because you think about a strike and then a head shake. They won't do that. It'll almost feel like that next jig up, you'll feel like it's like a wet sock. And so the weight will markedly feel about twice as heavy as what you have going on here, and at that point you just steadily reel up.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, let's go catch some more.
Yeah, let's do that.
I see a lot of your videos on social media. You're fishing kind of in the dark time, so you're fishing at night more. What's better?
It really depends on the tide and really the time of year. But actually, squid can be caught any time of day. In the bright sunlight, we've caught them. It doesn't matter. Really, you're hunting them down, and so they are creatures that will come in. And see a little bit of something right there. Just tiny. Sorry. But yeah, you can catch them essentially during the day, during the night. Sometimes it's a little bit better at night because we turn on the lights, and what that does is it attracts the microorganisms and the zooplankton and the phytoplankton that are drawn to the light, and that in turn attracts the squid, because they're here not only to spawn, but they're also here to eat too. And so it's a really working ecosystem. We use technology, as you can see. We use lighting in order to maximize the best chance of success for our client.
So super cool that we got our first squid on the boat. I'm really curious to know from you guys down here in the PNW area in Seattle, have you been out squidding? Do you jig in the same kind of way that Captain Paul Kim is demonstrating here? Because this is just one way to squid fish, and the way he sets up his rigs. We launched here at the local harbor, and we saw guys were jigging off the dock, which was really cool. So there's obviously lots of abundance of squid around here at this time of year. So let us know down in the comments what you guys are doing out there.
This is what's called an electric bow mount anchor. And so this one is made by Garmin. This is the Force Kraken in the 90-inch model. This is an amazing game changer for bottom fishing or doing anything that where you want to anchor. I could be in where we are right now, 60 feet of water or up to 600 feet of water. I press a button on this or a wireless Bluetooth remote and I can be anchored in holding position. So I could be halibut fishing or lingcod fishing or bottom fishing, rockfish. I could be keeping on anchor, and that'll keep us within 1 degree of lat long of where I tell it to go. You know, this is one of those rare fisheries where more boats, more jigs in the water is actually more conducive to everyone potentially catching a lot of squid, because when they see multiple jigs in the water, not only if I'm carrying a crew of 4 or 6 anglers or jiggers out there, there might be another boat with several other jig fishermen. The more jigs in the water, they tend to stay underneath the boats and think that there's like a
big feeding
frenzy going on, similar to like if you're tuna fishing and you're brailing live bait over. And so tuna fishing, you don't want to get close to anyone who's actually on a bait stop, but squid fishing, it's perfectly fine to kind of come in, and oftentimes we've had other anglers tie up to us because they don't have the anchoring system that we do.
Yeah.
And then everyone wins. So
Very
it's a whole lot of
cool.
fun. It's a very social, fun fishery.
Talk me through this, Paul.
Okay, so we're anchored down. We found a little area where there's some signs of some squid on the screen. So we're sitting in about 75 feet of water. So we're going to open up that bail. We like using spinning reels in this case because, number one, you can switch between a left or right retrieve, because if people favor certain retrieve, we want to make sure that they're comfortable fishing that.
Yep.
But another thing that we like to use is what's called the little memory tab on this, and I'll show you here. That line's going to stop here in a little bit, James. We're going to, hold on. See this guy? We're going to let that go, okay? Now we're going to close the bail because it's at the bottom. Go ahead and close it.
Yep.
Reel up a couple cranks. Make sure you got all the slack line off and jig up and down just to make sure you got bottom, okay?
We are on the bottom.
Are you on bottom? Okay, so at that point, I want to reel down 2 more cranks for me. Okay, that's it. Okay, make sure you jig up. So when you jig up, do a quick jig up and then a slow down, okay? You don't want that line to collapse on itself and those jigs kind of fouling with each other.
Okay.
So at this point, what I like to do, and you can see this, I'll just pin that line right there. That way, no matter where you reel up, we're sitting anchored in 74 feet of water right now. Go ahead and reel up like 5 cranks. Okay, you catch a jig. Open up your bail.
Goes to the
It's
same
your
depth every
memory
time.
setting, like in the car seat. Okay, flip over here, and your boom, your bail.
Wonderful, right at the depth we
and
need
you're
to
right
be
at
at.
the depth where you would need to be. We're seeing a little bit of something here. This could be other jigs, but you see us jigging here. You can see a 4 jig set, 3 jig set here. But keep jigging here. We'll kind of work it and see if there's any squid that are gonna.
And on the
come
screen,
over.
Paul, what exactly are you looking for? You're
So
looking
they're gonna look like lateral lines, squiggly lines through the bottom of the Puget Sound floor.
Okay. You've got a beautiful boat here,
Thank you.
designed to take a number of people on it. You
you.
don't need to have a boat this side to be squid fishing. You
No.
come out here in a 14-footer, weather permitting.
Absolutely.
16-footer. Anybody can really do this.
Anyone can do this. And so kayak fishermen, it's really popular for kayak fishermen to come out. They've got sonar. They've got even some of the kayaks I've seen have the spot lock technology or the
they
anchor
do.
technology,
Yep.
so they can just sit right on anchor once they find and locate the school of squid.
So what Paul is basically doing is moving around, watching his sounder. He sees the squid on the bottom. We stop and we start jigging. It's just hunting for them. What an amazing day. I mean, take a look behind me. It's the Seattle Space Needle. There's 4 of us on the boat jigging together in complete comfort. Sun's coming up. Wicked way to spend a morning. Thanks, Paul.
Another one. No. You got two. So I like to use a 2-handed jigging technique because what it does is it puts less strain onto my wrist, because I do this, as you can imagine, thousands of times. So I like to use the back handle of that rod as a support, and as I jig, I'm kind of resting my forearm a little bit more comfortably, like a golf grip, and then just kind of using 2 hands to jig. And so it's just a little bit of a bump or a tickle, as I like to call it, and just kind of, I'm going down and I'm lifting up, so it's less fatigue on my arms and my joints here. So it doesn't take much to get them to entice. And so when we've got that line down and set, it's just a little bit of a bump, and then drop down and just kind of wait. A lot of times they like it on that pause, not doing anything. Even though we're anchored up, even sometimes the rocking of the boat right there, that's just enough to get them to strike. So when you jig up too much like that, you're missing them. They can't swim that fast. And so So less is more. This is one of those, this is a touch fishery. That's what I call it. A touch fishery that you can really feel it and you can sense it. And once you get a good taste, I say, once you get your first half dozen or so, then you know what to feel for, then it becomes easy. So it's just kind of getting them charged up and ready to bite. That's the key. There you go, lift up. Okay, let it spit out there. Don't reel up all the way. Okay, so strip out some line, strip out some line for me. Yeah, don't dip them back in the water. Grab that jig. Yep, and then just kind of inverse that.
Nicely done. Yes! Is that your first squid?
That's my first one.
Nicely done, man.
That is so cool.
Check
dude.
this out, guys. Bucket of them. Nice work.
This is
Here we go, squid on.
all right.
Here we go. There's a nice squid right there. So that's that pink colored Katie squid jig.
Triple header, triple.
Triple. Okay, here we go. We got a good bite. Get back down.
There's a twofer.
That's a twofer.
You must have some hot spots, sort of certain areas where they tend to congregate a little bit more than others.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like it's no different than if you've got some favorite spots saved on your charts for halibut or bottom fish. You know, there are known locations that squid tend to spawn, and so we like areas along the waterfront here because the lights are a big draw for the squid because they're sensing, hey, this might be a good spot to deposit our eggs, and so when the larvae hatch, they're going to immediately have a food source, and that light attracts the phytoplankton and the light-sensitive microorganisms that are the prey of these paralarvae squid when they hatch. Yeah.
Right on. You're saying there's a big dock here that has lights on it as well?
There's a big dock here right behind us that has a lot of lights, and so that draws a lot of squid and herring and crab spawn that end up, being attracted to that, right? And
excellent.
So, yeah. I really like a one-piece rod, and ever since I started using this solid core 6.3 Pacific Jigging series, it's just been a really game changer for me because it's got such a sensitive tip on there, and this is really a touch fishery, and so when we're out here, you want to be able to sense, touch, feel the bite. A lot of times I can just see that tip just sometimes moving when a squid is latched onto the jig. Yep. And it just pulses, and this is really nice. So this is a West Coast rod, 6.3 in length. It's 110 to 200 gram jig weight. It's a medium fast action here and a medium weight rod. I've certainly caught bigger fish on this, but I find that this is just a really nice, comfortable rod to handle because of the EVA foam grip, and then the back handle. It's just perfect for jigging these squid.
Lightweight spinning rod. And what pound test are you running on there?
So
with braid?
15 pound braid on here.
Okay.
Yeah. So it doesn't have to be super heavy. You want it to be nice and tight, and you want to be able to sense and feel the grabs on this. And so braid is nice because it doesn't stretch.
Right. So you don't need a big expensive setup for doing this. Just a basic, nice sensitive rod,
Yep.
medium weight reel,
Yep.
15 pound test, and away you go.
And away you go. Get your squid jigs, and then get to your location and just start jigging away. We've got our market squid that we caught fresh here, and so I'm going to show you guys how to clean this. Okay, so what I like to do, especially when I get a whole big batch of them, is kind of do an assembly line, and so scissors work really well. And so have someone kind of just do all the tentacles, have someone give them a task, right, and just do an assembly line. So I like to simply right in front of the eyes, I like to just take a cut right there. And why I do it there is because there's a hard beak. As you can see, that's just kind of coming out. It looks like a little marble, right? And it's a really hard bird-like beak in there. You want to get that out. That tentacle's ready to go. So then you'll notice where that feather is, that's there for rigidity and support. We want to go opposite of that. You see this little carved out U? That's the opposite side, 180 degrees from the feather. I like to just then run a knife this way. That opens up everything inside, okay?
Oh, wow.
So then I can just take my thumb, give it a little pinch between that and the middle finger, and lift and pull. So that will contain that whole feather, it looks like a piece of plastic, but that's not plastic. It's there for rigidity. Allows for flexibility. It allows for stiffening up the squid, but that's why they're such agile swimmers, because they have this. They're invertebrates, right? So we can chuck all this over. There's a couple of egg sacs over there. Yeah, look check it out.
Seriously, it feels like a piece of plastic.
Yeah.
But it's not.
See that?
So then at this point, I've got this mantle opened up, okay? Now, it's optional if you want to do this, but there is that skin or the chromatophore. Now, if you were to boil this up or poach it, your water will turn red because of that ink that's in those chromatophores. So if you want to do it, you don't have to. You can clean the skin or you can take the skin off. And so simply to do that, you can see these wings that are out here. I just like to pinch it with my thumb and my pointer finger, pinch it and pull. So what that does is it'll take those wings off, and you don't need to keep those. And you can just roll that off. And if you were going to a sushi restaurant, my friend 𝗙𝗙 would prepare it this way. And so, and then if you wanted to diamond score this to make it a little fancier, if you're going to deep fry it or stir fry it, you could put a series of little 45-degree cuts into this, okay? Okay, on the inside of that mantle. It's really important to do it on the inside. Okay?
Can you eat this raw, or it has to be cooked?
You can.
So you can have it as sashimi if you wanted to.
You can, yeah. So I'm just gonna diamond score this. Maybe we'll do a little different recipe today, or a different style. And then I'm gonna go ahead and cut 3 sections longitudinally. Okay. So then you end up with that diamond score on the inside, a nice clean skin, de-skinned, and those are ready to cook just like that. Okay.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So I'm gonna just do that for that, and then I'm gonna skewer a few of these, just so that you can taste what that feels. Taste that as well. So then I'll just cut a line right where that feather is. Put my thumb in there, pinch it, and if I do this right. I could pinch and pull, and then that whole inside will come out. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, and then I don't have to take off the skin or anything. Then I can just push my finger. You can see the squid eggs right there on that one.
Oh yeah.
All the squid eggs over there, and then that leftover ink. Okay, so then you got a tube that's ready to go here. So then I'll just take a chopstick, pierce it through once, twice. I'll take the tentacle. I'll add it on there as well.
Okay, yeah, it's like a squid saute.
It'll be like a squid sausage or a squid on a stick, okay?
Popsicle.
Okay, so that one's ready to go. I'll clean a few more of these. We'll fire up the grill, we'll get them seasoned, and then we'll see what you guys think of this.
This episode is brought to you by Parksville Boathouse, your full-service boat dealer and chandlery. Gone Fishing, serving Vancouver Island and beyond for over 30 years. West Coast Fishing Tackle, the quality anglers deserve.
You can see the difference in the colors here. This is one that's just been caught. It's brown, and as they start to die off, there's a little bit of ink left on them. They tend to go white.
My secret sauce is sriracha mayo. So who doesn't like sriracha mayo? So this is super easy. I just take a 50-50 sriracha plus mayo. It doesn't have to be Kewpie mayo or anything special. Put it back in the bottle. Give it a good shake, keep it on ice in the cooler so I'm ready to go here. So, yeah. Before I do that, I take a little pink Himalayan salt, sea salt. Give it just a little sprinkle. You guys are in for a treat here.
Oh, sure.
And that'll be one side of them. Sorry.
How long are you keeping them on the grill for, Paul?
Just until they change color, you don't want to overcook them. Perfect.
I find that's the case with a lot of seafood. You don't want to overcook it.
Don't want to overcook it. Yeah, don't want to overcook it.
Look at that.
He's a Kaza style, man. Oh yeah.
This is so cool. This is amazing, man.
Oh my God, that's so good. Wow.
That is awesome.
That working for you?
Are you kidding me?
If you guys want to come down and have a barbecue like this in Seattle, come down and see Captain Paul Kim, Fish P&W Guide Services. You will have the experience of your life with this. Delicious.
Oh, look at the screen. It's lit up here. Look, it's lit in. Get your jigs down, guys. Get a triple. Giant squid.
Triple.
Woohoo! Double header, baby!
Oh, squid on.
Look at this, guys. Double header. Fantastic on these special jigs. Fantastic.
Oh!
By the way, guys, if you'd like to be featured on one of our episodes, if you're a guide anywhere in Canada, on the West Coast, or in the Pacific Northwest, give us a call. We'd love to get together with you, feature your business. Come on out with Tyler and I and give us some tips and tricks as the area that you fish. Quick question for you, Paul. Obviously, we're out here middle of the day. Is there a best time as far as the tides are concerned to be fishing for these guys?
Any
These are
side of the
delicious, by
tide,
way.
an hour or two after high or low, this just they seem to not like a whole lot of current. They like to just kind of usually just hang out in the bottom and find their eggs and find their spawning partners and lay their eggs rather.
Right on.
And so as long as it's not blown out too much, then that's usually pretty good. Yeah.
So an hour before tide change, an hour
before,
after.
hour after. Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah. This has made me actually a better fisherman all the way around because when you understand what the larger fish are preying on, understand the habitat, understand the bait, it'll automatically equate to you being better equipped, better rigged, using tackle that really matches the hatch and really puts out a good size, structure, shape, color when you put it down in the water. So look at the eyes on this thing. It's just amazing, right?
Something
Yeah.
I've noticed with all bait fish, whether it be anchovies or herring or squid, they all have big eyes.
Big eyes.
Big eyes.
Big eyes.
Paul, thank you very, very much for taking us out today. Guys, if you're ever in the Seattle area, you gotta look Paul up. I keep saying it. We caught squid, we cooked it on the barbecue. It was delicious. This is quite an experience.
I'm glad to have you guys join me this morning and glad we got to catch some squid and share the wonderful resource with all of our friends from BC as well as beyond.
Thanks, Paul.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
You're welcome.
This has been another episode of The Guy's Guide. Please like and subscribe down below. Comment what you'd like to see next, where you want us to fish, what species you want us to fish for. We'll see you on the next adventure.
Oh, fish on, double,
Fish on, fish on, double, double, double.